John,
Charles. This is great. Recording will be
It's fine. He can sync this. He's got Discord audio. It's fine.
Right, is everybody recording?
He can sync this, buddy. He can sync this. Yeah, I'm recording.
Yes, I'm recording.
Okay, everybody's recording. Gucci.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the Clip It podcast. As you can tell, we're doing something slightly different today, and it might stay like this for a while. I'm going to try and make them higher quality, higher effort podcasts from now on, using the recording subject. The recording media, there we go. I may go back to live streaming at some point in the near future, but that I don't know what's going to happen. We are joined by our wonderful co-host today, Agent Oink.
What's up, gamers? I think scripting is awesome.
Delicious.
I hope I don't get interrupted by the next person. Gosh, that would be awful if that were to happen. You really have a lot of time to interrupt me here. I really think you should do it, or this bit's going to go on for a very long time.
Shut up, bud.
There we go. We've got some good podcast topics today, I think. This is going perfectly well. It's better than our live streams because we just don't know what we're doing. Anyway, let's talk to everybody. How are we all doing today?
Okay, so I guess I'm just not here.
No, you just didn't hear. You
did,
just didn't hear
you
your
said
intro.
shut up.
Oh.
Come on, Bern. Stop trying to be greedy.
It's okay.
You'll
He'll
get
edit
our
it
2
in
seconds
post.
of
He'll
fame.
edit it in post. You'll respond properly.
Yeah. Okay. Say your
I
response
mean, he
now.
responded properly.
Say your response now.
I don't want money.
Nice. Right. So.
Overlay it so it's awful.
I'm going to start today by saying Trump had a good few days, hasn't he?
I'm really glad we're starting with
Do
politics.
you really want to get into
Diving
politics?
straight in.
I feel like
Well,
there's not
we
much
have
to say
now.
on Trump.
Have we ever done politics?
Yeah,
A couple of times.
I'm here. What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
true.
That's true. To be fair, no, to be honest, the topics that Delicious has kindly put in our wonderful Discord were AMD's CPU launch over a week ago, and possible, or not the leaks of the R9, but them showing off
That's
the
already
R9.
wrong.
You said AMD launch just a week. Oh,
Yeah. So that's just over a week from recording. So this is already going to show its age, though it should be up tomorrow, assuming
should be.
someone gets this done.
I will edit it. I promise.
So are we skipping this politics thing then?
Yes,
or-
yes, we are. That was just
Okay.
how I want to introduce the channel.
Damn, Trump, am I right?
Yeah, bro.
Orange
So-
is sus for a
okay,
vote him out.
So AMD's CPU are launching it in just over a week as of today. So
They're chatting about it. They're having their big talky talk.
which I'm excited for actually.
Yeah, we've got some details leaked about the Radeon, as you said before, 5900X, which is meant to be clocking in at over 5 gigahertz.
Five?
I've not heard if that's boost. Let me have a look.
I'd imagine that.
Yeah, it is boost. Yeah, if it wasn't, that would be even more insane. But
I mean, if
we're
it was
gonna be
boosted like 5.6 or something, fuck.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, we're looking at, I think, around 150 watts TDP.
Holy
So,
shit.
yeah, the next gen of computers are going to need some good power supplies.
True.
Yeah, for sure.
And talking about AMD, we also got the R9 5900X. I wouldn't say leak. They did reveal it officially, didn't they? In Fortnite.
That was... Okay, so there's been a bit of confusion here. I was abbreviating it in the chat, so I suppose this is kind of my fault. That was the Ryzen 9 5900X that was being referred to there.
Okay, so yeah, okay, that does make sense.
And it's meant to be, I think, better than the top, what was it, the Intel, is it the i10 10900 or the i9
10900K, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, the stupid one.
In some aspects. I think even in single core performance under certain
And Intel
situations,
CPU
which
that
is
has
incredible.
10s and 9s and a K in its name.
It's mad.
Jesus. It's like stupid.
But they have also said, their GPU event's going to be at the end of the month, the 28th of October.
Oh, nice.
So that's going to be something to look forward to with... I've heard very mixed things from leakers, and I'll be honest, I don't quite understand
Do you know,
everything that's been leaked so far.
do you know what also came out recently? It's coming out around that same time that recently got revealed. Borat
What?
2.
Oh, God, no.
Coming out on
God.
Amazon Prime supposedly on the 23rd of October.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ. Amazon
yeah.
Prime exclusive.
Probably.
23rd of October. Yep. Oh my god, why?
Yeah. So that's gonna. I've never seen the first Borat. I've seen The Dictator, which I enjoyed, and I've seen Ali G, which was a classic. But I've heard Borat is a good one, so you don't know. It might just be a cash grab. We'll see.
Yeah, it's. I don't think the original. I'll admit, I've not seen the original one that came out 16 years ago. I don't think it's aged very well, though.
I would
like
imagine
I've not
not.
seen it, but from the topics in it and the style, so it'll be interesting to see exactly what they do.
Nice.
Is this the beginning of our movie segment?
Yes. Oh,
It is,
actually,
yeah.
something we didn't mention. I'm just going to mention it now. There's a small chance we could be uploading a movie podcast on this channel. I would like to keep it on this channel, I guess. Maybe have a subsection name for it. I don't know. We haven't really thought about it, but it's something I want to do. Just as watching films with these people is a lot more fun than just watching it by yourself.
This is the Clip It podcast. This segment is focused on internet culture and news and just the internet in general, right? Clip It, a reference to Twitch, and the other podcast will be Cut It, because they do that sometimes, directors.
Oh, actually, that is a good... yes. Yes, we're doing that.
God, no.
Damn right, I'm sexy and impressive.
Oh my god.
Some of the other pointers you mentioned the RTX 3080 that finally launched.
Oh wait, yeah, I did.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Sorry, no, I thought you meant just now. No, he's talking about what I put in chat earlier. We're jumping around a lot. I feel like we've got a few topics, but if we go through them at this rate, we're going to be done in half an hour.
You're sitting on the CPU, bud.
Possibly slow our roll just a little bit here.
Okay, so let's talk about the CPUs then. Go on, let's talk about the CPUs. As you
Well,
can tell,
I'm
we're as professionals.
pretty excited. I would definitely upgrade to an AMD CPU now, like their current generation, even over the late Intel generations. The main problem would just be buying a motherboard, and since I know these new ones are coming, I'm going to wait for them. I
Fair,
wonder what
yeah.
else we're going to be looking towards, like their integrated GPUs or their APUs, as Intel calls them. I can't remember what that's meant to stand for. That's going to be interesting to see how thin we're going to be able to get our gaming devices.
APU is
be-
accelerated processing unit.
Oh, thank you. Could be looking at a Nintendo Switch, but more powerful, and it can run Windows or Linux.
Oh, is that what it
Or
stands
Mac.
for? I thought it stood
Stands
for
for Nintendo.
automatically pushing utilities.
God, shut up.
Yeah, no, there's actually been quite a lot of promising stuff for the Nintendo Switch. Like,
Oh,
so the Nintendo Switch, if people didn't know, is basically an NVIDIA Shield.
Yes.
Like, it is almost exactly the same at a hardware level, just running different software.
Right.
So, NVIDIA picking up ARM, and ARM's quite long focus on building quite high power mobile chips, and small integrated chips, specs quite well for the future of NVIDIA with Nintendo in terms of what they could make with a new Switch. But I would also equally say that, like, there's plenty of possibility for, Nintendo to fuck off NVIDIA. Like, AMD are getting more competitive in that market. I mean, we've seen what they've done with their laptop releases lately, so I would not be surprised if they could get a good mobile release.
I think we can all
So,
agree that
yeah.
Razer make the best laptops.
no. No, I don't think we can, actually. I think there's going to be a bit of controversy there.
But no, yeah, like I'm looking forward to new CPUs mainly because I
Obviously,
know
it's Alienware.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously, I don't know if they're gonna. I want them to, but I doubt the previous ones are gonna go down in price. Like if I was to upgrade, I would love to go for a 3 Series 7, Ryzen 7. Though to be honest, the 2 Series would be still ideal for me. Just because of the price point. It's just the problem being the motherboard being not expensive, but just adding to that that final amount basically. But no, it'd be interesting to see what they come up with. They always are pushing forward to. They're always pushing forward for affordable but powerful and very good CPUs.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
And they're definitely getting a lot better on the GPU game as well.
just to clarify the lineup, the leaks suggest, although they're not necessarily expected from what I'm understanding of the leak to be launching at the same time, that the new Ryzen chips will be.
Shit.
Quite impressive actually. So at the lower end you got the Ryzen 5 5600X,
here.
which is a 6-core 12 thread.
Yep.
Then a step up from that, you've got the Ryzen 7 5800X, which is an 8-core 16-thread. And then a step up from that, you've got the Ryzen 9 5900X, which is a 1224, and then the top-spec Ryzen 9 5950X, which is a 1632.
Jesus.
So a rough example of that, the Ryzen 7 5800X in a benchmark got 166.6 average FPS, 135. I don't fucking. This doesn't make much sense. I'd fuck those columns. They're called medium and heavy. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
No.
but versus a 10900K, like that's a 30 FPS increase roughly. So that's pretty impressive.
Substantial for
I
sure.
mean, like for a Ryzen 7, which is their like higher end, like medium high end line, to be pushing better than Intel's like top spec consumer chip.
That's decent.
It's pretty impressive.
But I guarantee you these new CPUs will probably be selling retail probably about 350, 400, maybe even 500.
And so I'd expect more for them.
I mean, for
especially at the top end.
The Ryzen 9s, I'd be looking at 600 to $1,000
Yeah.
easily.
Which is-
Not to necessarily say that that's an expensive price from a value proposition. I mean, it's obviously expensive in a raw proposition, but the value of those chips is going to be pretty good. I mean, the value of the top spec Ryzens, as they are, is still better than most other CPUs. Well, depending on what your end use case is going to be, because benchmark performance doesn't actually result. But if you are needing the use you're going to get from those cores, then I highly recommend Ryzen. Not that I've ever used one, but I have used Intel for long enough to know that it's a piece of absolute shit.
As someone who's
I'm with
used
you on
a Series 1 Ryzen, I highly recommend them. Especially just for doing like editing, streaming, stuff like that. It's so much more beneficial to have that extra multitask ability, sort of, it's just really useful. I highly recommend them for anybody thinking to do an affordable PC for streaming, for editing, for anything that uses, for anything, to be honest, because even if you want to use Chrome and play a game, Intel tend to struggle apparently. So it's always nice to have that sort of accessibility just on your PC, just to have that. Even if you don't use it, it's just there.
The summary of working with an Intel CPU for me is the second anything needs to push it to try and get something done as fast as possible, other stuff starts to hinder significantly, right? Like launching Chrome, and I'm not talking about all my other startup applications. I have a script that runs them one by one at about a reasonable time because of this, right? But once all of those open, launching Chrome will 100% my CPU for about 10 seconds.
10 seconds,
right?
Is that it?
Which is insane. And sure, I'm opening I've got a few Chrome windows and they've all got a few tabs in them and extensions and shit. And when my CPU is 100%, that's not my PC's frozen. I can still do other stuff. Other stuff still responds. But if I was doing something in the background more resource intensive, or like tried to open another application that is quite intensive to open, like Vegas, or Blender or something like that just wouldn't happen. Like I would just have to wait for Chrome to open and then that would open. And both of those things happen in a relatively quick time. But it's like I just don't feel like that should be the case, right? If I'm idling with everything on my PC right now, recording this, handling video from Discord to look at your camera, etc., and I'm idling at 10% CPU usage, it seems absurd that Chrome should 100% my CPU. And the only reason it does is because it uses one thread. And it's like, I'm going to open Chrome, and one thread on my CPU is enough to kill it because it's a piece of shit. Fuck Intel.
Okay. Yeah. Can't argue with it. Can't argue with. So.
Right, Chowan.
Wow. Yeah. No. I think AMD are definitely going to be a huge part of the majority of the CPUs until Intel actually start catching up with better affordable CPUs. They may win the high end at some point, but I doubt it'll be anytime soon at this rate. So,
I mean, AMD's market share has been consistently growing for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I think what's important to respect is we can sit here and be PC enthusiasts all we like and talk about who has the best gaming CPU at the absolute top end and who has the best multitasking CPU and who has the best rendering and what's the CPU that's best for streaming, etc., etc. But let's be honest here. Most people aren't buying $800 Intel or AMD CPUs. Most people are buying $200 to $300 to $400 maybe Intel CPUs and AMD CPUs, right?
No.
And the value you get from like a Ryzen 3 and 5 versus some of the shittier Intel i5s is just more substantial, in my opinion.
True.
Like, the performance you can get on a low-end system is way more value than a bit more multi-threaded performance on a high-end system, purely because if you're spending 800 quid and then 200 quid on a motherboard, like, you're already spending £1,000 on just the CPU motherboard alone, so, like, whether you go into a Ryzen, like, you can clearly afford either, so it doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's definitely
That's fair. I think
pretty
that's
much spot on.
yeah. It's literally spot on. Quite literally spot on.
Damn right.
So, yeah.
Damn right.
You got anything you want to say about this Asti boy?
That Agent Lang basically just said how Ryzen's both like useful in both the top end and the low end. Like the value for it very much shows just how like good it can be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, we yeah. I honestly, if you want to get a good
Yeah.
affordable CPU, I highly
Yeah.
recommend going for any Ryzen.
Mm.
The second series at the moment, I would say the most affordable. That will probably change to the third series after a little bit of the the next series coming out.
I would also propose, if someone is listening to this and thinking about buying a PC,
Mhm.
even if you could look at the specific exact use case you have, maybe you are specifically looking for the performance in one game, right? Something that is Intel-sided, like CSGO, I believe, is Intel-sided, as an example, right? You're looking specifically at that one game, and you notice that an Intel CPU at roughly the same price as an AMD CPU, like say the motherboards are roughly the same price, performs like 10% better. So you're going to go with that CPU. The thing I would warn you about is the mid to high end on Intel generally underperforms the mid to high end on AMD for the same price, right? And you are likely going to have to upgrade your socket, which is less the case, depends on what Ryzen generation you get, etc., and what motherboard and such forth of chipsets. But on Ryzen, that's a lot less the case. You have a much better option with Ryzen for the upgrade path without having to change your motherboard if you buy like a low-end Gen 3 now. So I would definitely consider the future into, like, I think it's always important when you're buying a PC to think about upgradability. And obviously the common things there are like, will I have space in this case for a big GPU? Like, sure, who cares? But think more like, literally, will you be able to upgrade to a higher-end Ryzen 7, maybe? If you can, that could be a really good thing, because sure, your motherboard might not be ideal for overclocking it, or might not be ideal in general because of its feature set. You don't necessarily have to upgrade that when you just want to upgrade your CPU. That could come down the line, a year after you've got that CPU. So that's always something to think about.
Yeah.
And some Intel CPUs don't even work in the same socket.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Intel's a bit weird with chipsets.
Yeah, their graphics cards are
Intel's
going to be a
graphics are
little
based-
bit more.
Put it like this: to have my CPU running on my old motherboard, I had to buy a Celeron from Amazon just so I could update the motherboard BIOS. Just so, even though it was the same chipset, the BIOS was updated enough to support the CPU.
Wow.
Which is great because I spent £38 on a CPU from Amazon, ordered it, put it in my board, updated the BIOS, put it back in the box, sent it back to Amazon, got a full refund.
That works.
Which is
Works
just good fun.
perfectly. So yeah, no, AMD are going to do well, and hopefully it does come out fairly soon. So that'd be great for anybody wanting to make an affordable gaming, streaming, editing PC in the next few weeks. Though,
Pretty much everything.
yeah,
to be
true.
honest.
No, that's what they're great for.
I mean, pretty much everything. Like, some people do use their PCs more like consoles, right? Where they have like no other software installed. Some people barely even consider installing Discord, right? They don't even bother installing a separate web browser. This is definitely not like most of us, I would say, but there are people like this, and they will just launch a game. They'll get Steam open or get Epic Games open, play the game, right? They barely even worry about thingy, especially if they play console games on PCs that have like in-game voice chat anyway because of that, right?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like there's some people that like it doesn't apply to as much. But if you have any intention of possibly streaming, possibly video editing, maybe you want to try and learn some Adobe software and want to have like Media Encoder running encodes in the background, anything along any of those lines, clearly AMD is winning for you.
Yeah.
I mean, the ability to assign CCXs alone makes a huge difference, so
Yeah,
it's just complicated architectural stuff, but you can look it up.
Oh yeah, no, I love being able to assign CEX with certain stuff. But yeah, no. So yeah, CPU. AMD are doing great at CPU, and it seems like their next graphics cards as well are going to definitely do a huge
They're looking
huge
promising.
Good, huge performance boost for people and hopefully be affordable. Though again, I still want a Ryzen. I still want an RTX card. I will always go for the inevitable better price to performance option, as I've always stuck with Ryzen at the moment.
Can say I would not recommend the RTX 2000 series. I think Phelan would agree.
Now I
wouldn't recommend buying it for RRP. But then again, I wouldn't recommend buying pretty much anything for RRP.
It's very true.
Oh god, I got him started.
I like to look around. And by look around, I mean check like 5 sites.
Hey, to be fair, my 2070 cost me £359.
Yeah.
Which for when I bought it was pretty reasonable.
And talking
Which
about
is why I bought it.
talking about RTX cards, the 30 series recently released, and that's been going somewhat well for them. I say with a smirk on my face.
It's been going excellently. If you were one of those lucky people that managed to snatch up a reference RTX 3080 from Nvidia's website, you have got a pretty decent card, right? You got good performance. You got a real nice card from that. I mean, not necessarily the most excellent price, but fair enough. You wanted to spend the money, you got a good card out of it. Fair enough. Well done. If you bought a third-party card, oh, rest your soul. Oh, I'm sorry for you. So, it's potluck, honey. It's gonna fail and crash and have a series of problems, or it's gonna be fine. If only many YouTube reviewers had warned of this. Gamers Nexus.
And nobody watches Gamers Nexus. All people know about Gamers Nexus is the fact that their anti-static mats are on LTT videos.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that?
That's all people. That's all people.
That's
know.
the Gamers Nexus mod mat, which you can purchase at gamersnexus.shop.
Gamers Nexus is really good. I don't like him because he's got a very monotone voice, and so I just kind of get a bit annoyed by it.
Some people don't like his method of delivery in comparison to like Linus Tech Tips videos, right? Where you have like a significant focus on entertainment.
You okay, Phelan?
Yeah, sorry, no, I've just noticed with this whole new recording thing, and it tells me how much disk space I have remaining for recording.
What are you using to record?
And it's just under a day. Which is plenty of time.
But yeah, no idea. I presume
means...
it records to C temp files.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm assuming.
I've got 433 hours and 47 minutes. 46. Sorry.
I've currently got 10 hours.
I've only got 9 hours. 9.5 hours.
There you go.
Get better C drives, bro.
There you go, viewers. Enjoy.
If people want to donate me a new C drive, there you go.
So if anyone's interested, I'm recording at 32-bit float, 44,100 hertz. You can now calculate how much space I have left on C. Well done. Comment that below, and I'll buy you a Steam game under £10.
If
I won't.
Donate me £9.72 billion, please.
That would be ideal.
I'm planning.
What's it saying?
I was going to say I'm planning on buying some stuff, but I can't now.
I was talking about something important, and I can't remember now.
The RTX cards and how much you love them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And how well that
Gamers Nexus voice, that was it. Right. So yeah, in comparison to like other channels that have a more I focus on reviewing the content, but also entertainment. Gamers Nexus focuses more on what you'd expect from like an article, right? It's more a delivery of as much information condensed into a relatively efficient format. It's not as efficient as possible, but he will speak in a pretty monotone voice, and he will just not literally. You could like if it's a proper just straight informational video, he will start speaking Tech Jesus, as we like to call him. And he will just stop speaking at the end of the video.
The one with the
long it is that one.
Tech Jesus, yeah. And basically...
Oh, no, I had a problem with Jay. I remember.
Nothing. Oh, you don't like Jay's 2 cents? He's okay. I don't mind him. I don't have a problem with him. He's just a dude, like, whatever. I don't personally like his channel as much as other channels because I just find it a bit bland, but that's because I'm also just not really into buy product, open product. Like, I don't watch Short Circuit from LTT or anything either. Because it's just boring. Like, I don't want to see someone just open a box. What the fuck?
I don't, for the opposite reason of spoilers. I like to open a box for the first time and go, "Oh, this is so cool." As you can tell by this link to my Loot Crate unboxing.
just took a gamble buying this thing.
Like shit. One thing Steve mentions in his early reviews of the RTX card is that he had worked, so he often does like very in-depth cooling, very in-depth PCB layouts and such forth. He does like very in-depth reviews of cards, GPUs especially, right? He does other stuff as well. So like he'd been told directly from some of his contacts at a few of the third-party vendors for GPUs that they had been given a very short amount of time in comparison to normal to design the aftermarket cards for the RTX 3000 series, and for that personal reason he would recommend holding off until a new generation of aftermarket cards come out. And I definitely think, for those that don't fully understand, basically there's some interesting capacitor decisions that have been made possibly that is leading to more capacitor types and clock rates that have been leading to crashes with certain automatic cards, and that obviously would suggest that what Steve was warning about in Games Nexus, that some of the designs had been rushed through, is indeed test. Maybe they didn't have enough testing at different in different situations, of different overclocks and different temperatures and such forth to determine that maybe those capacitor systems and layouts were not suitable for the cards. But yeah, I mean, I always think buying an aftermarket card like immediately on release is bad anyway with GPUs. Like, reference is different, because NVIDIA's obviously going to put work into, and they've been working with that card for years in designing it, so they're going to have some insight. But I feel like aftermarket cards, I don't know, I tend to like waiting maybe like at least a little bit for like a better, cooler version to come out or something, right? Depending on your opinion, because if you get a card that's just a bit quieter, if you're interested in quietness, that's good. If you get a card that's a bit cooler because you're interested in temperatures, that's good.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, I think they released a driver update which has fixed the issues for most cards by basically limiting the clock. So it's not.
I mean,
great.
at least it's a way of making them function, but.
Well, I mean, it was just only, from what I understood, it was for the most part only when they went over 2 gigahertz, which, I don't know, it's enough. I don't know if they're doing refunds and some people are doing refunds and returns now. Some other companies are simply stating there's a problem, we're looking into it. Which
yeah, I mean,
I assume
don't
is
remember.
Giving their team time to decide what to do.
It was EVGA, I think, actually. Don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was EVGA that I read who had said, in regards to the sort of controversy, we were aware of a problem on a previous design we had for one of our 3080 cards. However, this is not the design we shipped, but it was a problem when we were designing a 3080 card.
Yeah, I think that was EVGA.
So yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like this whole release has been a shit show, quite frankly. I'm gonna call Nvidia out here. I'm not a big fan of Nvidia for a whole host of reasons, right? But like the bots that scraped up all of the cards and are reselling them, right? And that's partly on vendors and also partly on Nvidia. I'm saying that because Nvidia has their own website as well, and also maybe Nvidia could try and enforce policies from vendors if they want to be able to sell their products, etc., etc. That sort of thing, along with botched aftermarket designs that have possibly had issues. And again, they're not like completely game-breaking issues, but that's not the sort of thing you expect when you're spending that much money on a product, right?
No, absolutely, it's a lot.
It's been a bit of a mess, this launch. I feel like Nvidia really needs to learn and do a bit better next time round. Maybe try and get some security from the vendor's end. Maybe try and slow it down a bit with your launch if this is going to be an issue. Like, I think this 3000 series would have sold equally as well if they had launched it like in a month from today. Right?
Or if they like trickled them out instead of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. There's definitely stuff to be learned on Nvidia's end for sure.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
It's going to give AMD a potential area to come through, but AMD have already stated that they are going to have enough stock, which is, I suppose, quite ballsy to do. But after we've had issues with the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the RTX 3080 cards, I don't know how much they're expecting interest to be in these new AMD cards, but they think they've got enough. So let's see if that comes true.
I wish I could buy one.
You could.
I can't.
Not saying it'd be a good idea, but you probably could.
I can't.
I'm sure you can find a way.
Nah. Oh, I can sell a kidney.
There you go then.
Spend your streamer money on it.
So so honestly, this battle with the two graphics cards literally is basically what's happened with the consoles. One's gone in early and said and done all this, and then they've had mistakes, and the other one has just come out and gone, "Hey, we can do better." That being Microsoft with the Xbox saying, "Oh, we're going to have enough stock." And talking about Microsoft, they recently bought a new studio.
Studios.
I mean, I feel like like I felt like that was meant to be a segue, in what that was an excellent
an
segue
interesting
into a
one.
discussion about consoles that ended up being about Bethesda. And I mean, if that
That's
isn't a statement for
exactly
this
what I was-
podcast,
Yeah.
like I was about to have a discussion about like how I still genuinely think Xbox has won the console wars, and I want to, preface this with I'm not like a big console guy. I don't really care. I totally get why more people are going to buy PlayStation. I in fact think more people are going to buy PlayStation in the early stages, but I think 10 years from now there will be more Xboxes in use, and that is purely because
No.
the Xbox Series S is a better value for everyday people that don't really want to spend that much on a fucking console,
We've
and also
confirmed-
Game Pass is really good.
We've confirmed.
Like really, really good.
Game
We
Pass is
confirmed
really
that there's
good.
going to be more Xboxes out there. However, the wrong one.
Well, yeah, that's also an issue.
See,
Yeah, I was surprised how well the X is sold. Sorry, John, compared to the S's.
No, not even that
Sorry.
one. Not even that version of loads of people started buying the Xbox.
He's talking about
One
the
S,
Xbox One X sales.
Mm.
which was a beautiful move.
I mean, they've had like a massive amount of background stock for a long time of Xbox One X's, and I think it would be wrong to say that naming their new consoles the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series X was not at least partly a deliberate oopsie-doopsie that they knew would help their cash flow situation in terms of their stock on the Xbox One X and Xbox One S. Like, that's a very noticeable thing. Like, I think it was a very deliberate decision. Not, like, the whole reason they named it that, but definitely partly. Like, it's convenient for them. If people accidentally buy Xbox One X's, like, oh, what a shame!
I do love how, and this is something it came out more a couple of weeks ago, but I do love how Phil Spencer back in July had an Xbox Series S on his shelves, just in
Yep.
plain sight, for like a few months before it was even noted. Well done
Yep.
on him. Well done on him. So, but yeah, no, the console. I don't know. I personally think the PlayStation is going to do better if they can, because I don't.
I think the PlayStation is the better console, right?
Yes.
If we are comparing hardware and my experience in PlayStation software, which is watching my family use both consoles as I walk through the PS4 versus Xbox One X, whichever one we have, right? Which, frankly, I will be completely clear, is not a great experience. But what I will say is, I think the PlayStation 4 is a better console. I'm just going to say it. I think the PlayStation 4 digital is a better price for the hardware than the Xbox One X has, right?
Okay.
And than the PS4 non-digital has, right? I think the PS5 digital is a great purchase and a value proposition for the hardware and software. But here's the thing. Does everyday people, especially during the current economic situation, with recessions on the foreground in pretty much every major Western country on the planet,
Bless me. I did that out.
want to purchase a £399 to £499 or dollar, console? Probably not, right? Especially when the performance gains, we haven't seen what the performance gains are going to be at 1080p yet, right?
Yeah.
We know what their 4K performance is like roughly, right? Well, I mean, we know roughly. Blah, blah. You know what consoles are like, that shady ass shit, right? But not everyone has a 4K TV, and quite frankly, I don't think many people are going to necessarily want to buy a 4K TV, apart from what is going to be a small percentage of the user base is going to actually bother to buy a $499 PS5 and a new 4K TV just to play on it, right? I don't think that many people are going to do that. So people that have already got 1080p TV,
Yeah.
I think the best option for people that don't want to be spending that much money is to get an Xbox One S for $299, which is likely to launch with a free live and Game Pass option for maybe a few months.
Series S.
Shut up. Xbox Series S, right? Which is likely to launch with free live for maybe 3 months and free Game Pass for maybe 3 months or something, right? This is purely off the top of my head. Like, it might not even happen, but there's rumour that they're going to do this.
Would be good.
I think for the everyday person that doesn't have a particularly large amount of money to throw around, that is a great value proposition to be able to say as like a parent to kids that are looking for a console at Christmas, right? That you've got them a brand new console and they've got access to 400, 500 games, right, to play on that console. I think that's a pretty good fucking proposition if you ask me.
Yeah. No, it is a good idea, and it's going to have Fortnite 2.0 on it, so the majority of kids getting it is going to be great. I just don't like how much the fucking memory is, but then again, I don't know.
The storage.
Storage side, yeah.
Storage. How much is the storage?
212 for a terabyte. which is twice the amount I checked for a PC version, because the average terabyte SSD is about 100.
No,
Is it?
no,
Yes,
no. It's
yes.
so much cheaper than that. It's
I'd say
so
how
much
much
cheaper.
are
Oh,
you
than
cheaper.
paying
Okay,
for
so
your
yeah,
SSDs?
the most expensive ones. And I was looking like the Samsung like fucking
Okay.
like premium ones.
Charlie's been looking at the NVMe ones,
Yeah.
and even then you'd be.
No, yeah, but
Yeah,
that's what it
it's-
is. It's basically an NVMe.
Yeah, no, they are NVMe.
Oh, they.
They're
it's
you
a bit
know,
cheaper.
they're like about the size of like a small like old PlayStation memory card,
yeah, it's
roughly,
quite literally
very
about
roughly,
about that size.
right? I don't know if you remember, you know, the NVMe drives you get, Phelan, that are about like they're small. They're more like a Wi-Fi chip. I don't even know if they're technically NVMe. They might just be PCIe. I don't know, but you get the point, right? They're like they plug in PCIe and they're like a small sort of almost Wi-Fi sized chip. I don't know if that's the one that's in them, like the default one, but I know
it's
that's what the expansion is.
Yeah, it's the expansion. It costs $212.
And I would like to point out, because you might not be aware, you can use a USB expansion drive to vault your games on the Xbox. So
Sure, no,
you can
go.
have games that are playable, right, on your normal drive on an Xbox. But then if you don't want to have to delete the game, but you want to download a new game you need space for, you can move it to the USB drive. It's not playable from the USB drive, but you can store the files there, and then you can, you know, move something else to the USB drive and then move that game back when you want to play it later. Which isn't going to be amazingly fast, but I guess it's nice to have the option.
It genuinely, I know it's a very random thing, but it genuinely annoys me how far it sticks out of the console. Like, it's a very small gripe, but it just annoys me.
No, yeah, it does annoy me.
Oh, I've not seen that. Is it going to be like having a PlayStation
Yeah,
2 memory
yep.
card, except a lot more expensive? So when that breaks, gets stepped on. Not that I ever stepped on a memory card, but someone must have at some point, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I have. What a weird thing to think about. What a weird
Right.
reminiscing
By the
moment
way-
in our lives of our generation of early consoles that are fought right now on a podcast
way,
in 2020
I just wanna say-
is, have we stepped on a memory card?
I just want to say, the fact that it comes with a sheath like that makes me think that people are going to buy more than one.
That's disgusting.
Let me.
Also,
Okay,
is that
sorry.
just
I'll
you
just
get
bring this
thing
up.
on that? Or is that just the
Again,
Yes,
this
it
is going to
looks
be
like it.
awesome for you to edit in.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show all the.
Yeah, I don't
No, yeah, all of this can be edited in. I'm going to admit my failure.
Okay.
You guys know what it's like when you see a tweet that has like a few hundred retweets, right, or something.
Yeah.
Right.
You can, like, if you don't like or retweet it, it's like impossible to find like 3 weeks later, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's no way. I saw a tweet, and I was going to send it as a joke because it was funny when we're talking about Xbox's acquisition of Bethesda. Someone edited into the same image where where Phil Spencer had fucking the Xbox One S on his shelf, a little mini version of Todd Howard. It was like, wow, Phil Spencer had Todd Howard as himself this whole time and was teasing us about the acquisition of Bethesda, and I really wanted to find the image, but I could not.
So
Oh,
I just
man.
want to say, by the way, I don't know how confirmed this is, but someone was saying that the Xbox, this seems about right to me, the Xbox reserves 10% of its memory for just system files.
Storage or RAM?
Yeah, storage, so yeah, I keep saying memory.
God.
Okay.
That seems reasonable.
But yeah.
Yeah, that seems
Well, I mean,
possibly about what
Wouldn't-
I'd expect.
wouldn't people just be able to use like a? Oh no, never mind. Yeah, no, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm being stupid. I'm being silly.
You
I'm
are.
being foolish.
What's wrong?
No, I forgot that the storage cards look disgusting like that. So I was just wondering why you couldn't just use a normal NVMe. But never mind.
Fair.
I think, though.
I mean, you
in this
probably could.
subject-
It probably
like,
fucking
I
Like,
know
very
it's
there's a
stupid idea just
modding
because of how fast
possibility
it'll look
you
out.
could, if it's a standard NVMe, like whether it's small format or normal format to drive inside on a board, you could take it off, plug it into a PC, use Clonezilla to bit copy it to like a 3 terabyte NVMe and plug it back in. It would probably work fine.
It's one of those things where
I mean, you wouldn't get the speed benefit that comes with their new stuff, but like if it's just if it's the same interface format, then it'll work.
Oh, I know. I think it's confirmed that PlayStation are doing their own SSD architecture, and we haven't heard
Yes,
anything about
and-
that.
I was expecting them to.
No, we have heard about Xbox. Xbox is doing a similar thing with the Microsoft Direct Access API, which they're working with NVIDIA to bring to Windows 10 as well, which gives, as part of the RTX 3000 launch, which gives GPUs access to be able to directly request storage from an SSD rather than having to go through the CPU and RAM. So it's not exactly the same, like, completely custom architecture for decompression chip that the PlayStation 5 has. However, it will mean that in future, if you're playing GTA 5, rather than I need to load this building or Trevor's face, being, hey CPU, can I load this building? And CPU says, hey, yeah, SSD, can you have this? And the SSD puts it in memory, and then the memory then sends it to CPU, and the CPU then sends it to GPU. Rather than doing that, it will just be GPU straight to SSD and back, which will be a huge performance boost. And that will be coming to PC. Like, to be clear, that's going to be a thing on PC.
Yes.
Like, it's coming to Windows, which is a hugely exciting thing.
Oh,
Yeah, genuinely.
finally get into our Microsoft Flight Sims in less time.
I just saw.
be
I'm sorry.
rendery. Not sure where I was going.
I'm sorry. I just saw a news article saying Nintendo reminds Switch owners to charge the console at least once every 6 months.
It's probably a good idea, to be honest. I can think of a few reasons you might want to do that, but
Just a few.
there we go. So, I was actually going to say about the Xbox Series S and X thing. So, I personally think the PlayStation Digital is going to be the way that things are going to go. So, from what we saw, and admittedly that was initial release, the Series X had more orders than the S, but like I say, that's just initial. You were saying about how many people owned a 4K TV, which, would you believe there's not much solid data on? Because
I would also personally think, and this is a personal thing, I have zero data to back this up, and I would be interested to hear what your precursory estimates would be, that number would vary very significantly between North America, as in US and Canada, and
this
Europe.
is US numbers I've got.
Yeah, right. Because I think in the
I'll see if I
US
can
there will be a
find EU.
higher percentage of people that have 4K TVs.
So-
Okay.
More because I think TV's a bigger thing in America, right? Like in the UK, I
look
definitely
if I can
in the
find
older
EU
generations, a lot of
stats.
people watch TV, right? But there's still a lot of TV shows in America made for younger generations, which I don't think is the case in the UK. Like how many TV shows, right? And I'm talking like decent budget TV shows. Do you see the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, UK TV, right? Making specifically aimed at like the, teenagers to like 20s age. And then the 20s to 30s age. Not that many, but you compare that to America with like generic action shows and shit. Like there's hundreds of them,
That's fair.
like an insane amount. In fact,
Looks like I'm looking
Reese
at-
was watching one recently, and I just need to bring this up for Phelan's sake. ATC was down due to a virus, Phelan, which you're going to already love because that statement is questionable by
Yep.
quite a many things. So their solution was to have a Boeing 747 low pass on a runway with them in a sports car below, connect an Ethernet cable from the Boeing 747 into their laptop, download the ATC patch from the Boeing, and then upload it to the local ATC tower to restore ATC to all the other planes. Why that Boeing couldn't just land there and do that? That doesn't even make sense in the first place. But yeah, that's the quality of like some American TV.
That's fucking awesome. I'd watch that. That'd be sick.
Fuck you.
Not gonna
I
lie.
just want to interrupt everybody.
Sure, bro. 747.
I just want to interrupt
Damn,
everybody.
alright.
You know Spider-Man on the PS4?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just found out that they've changed Peter Parker in the remake or in the PS5
Yeah.
version. I don't know if
He looks
everybody's aware of this, but
I was.
the fuck? So I don't know if Jaren's seen it, but that's the old
Look!
Peter
Look! You have to pay $70 for this game.
This is the new one.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen
Like
it.
the fuck? It looks like a rip-off
Yeah.
Tom Holland.
Yeah, no, that's the point.
I think it's probably the point, to be honest.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like.
I know the lighting's different, but I kind of prefer how it's going off the younger face. I was going to say
To
the
be fair,
bottom face,
graphically, it
but
doesn't look too different.
I suppose it doesn't matter.
But yeah, I just found out this and I was like, the fuck?
Yeah.
I love.
I mean, to be fair, you are going to have to pay for the game, like again,
Yeah.
even though you already own it. So
Oh,
at least they have some excuse if we actually put development work into this.
Wow.
So, I think as I was... Are we
Yeah,
good
so
to-
carry on. I do apologise. Good
That's
sir.
okay.
Fuckface.
For America,
Yeah.
and like you say, very well, it is going to be different in the
Well, it's going to be
European
different.
area, I don't
How much it's different and in what way, we can't be sure. But
It's surprising. I'm still trying to look for the European numbers. It's just over a third currently in the American
Really?
market, which is
Jesus.
debatably more than I expected. I don't know. The other problem is the numbers that say that don't say how much of that is full HD, which I imagine is, well, the vast majority of it. but I don't know how many people are still using weird resolutions.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that's probably just about enough, though, for people to want the PlayStation Digital Edition or the Series X. But out of the two of those, I would then go for the PlayStation.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll see if I can find those European numbers a minute whilst I'm...
I love how we always go onto the console, and yet none of us are going to get one. So actually, while you're doing that,
True.
I just want to bring up something that Phelan, and Jaren saw, and I'm only bringing this up for Jaren because I knew he used to play it a lot more than anybody else. Oh, I used to play it a lot more. Is they've just revealed today the new Call of Duty Zombies, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of liking it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not much of a COD person. I guess I've grown to like it a bit more in my last few years. That being said, I despised it before. But it does look pretty good.
Yeah.
I found some, just to very quickly add on, I found some, it's not straight percentages of who owns this data or how much people have TVs, but there was data from the Independent Financial Authority 2019 of Berlin, released by GfK,
You mean JFK?
that seems to suggest the 2018 FIFA World Cup's broadcast resolution,
Oh, yeah, that's good.
alongside the currently apparently thriving TV sound ecosystem, so soundbars and such.
Interesting.
Yeah, depressingly. Has led to it suggests here an 11% increase year on year for TVs with 4K resolution worldwide. So we already know what the American numbers are. We start from that they're obviously going to be doing decently well in Europe as well then. Which is, I don't know, it's tough for me to judge TVs because I haven't watched TV in 10 years now, and I don't think I ever will, so it's really hard for me to judge. Like, I don't know how, like, is TV still a thing that families do? Like, I don't know. Like, that sounds just weird.
Yeah.
No,
Ugh.
Yeah,
Probably
no, it is
someplace.
definitely still a thing that...
What do you watch, though? Is there anything good?
So, obviously, again, it's going
Probably
to vary
soaps.
person to person. I generally will watch game shows. Well, not game shows. Well, I guess game shows, yeah. Sure. With the
Chase.
family. So things like The Chase, yeah, Tipping Point. If I'm down at that sort of time.
Yeah, but one of those the other day fucking said, will Saturn float? And the answer was yes.
Ooh,
Or would Saturn float?
Well, there you go then. Now you
Yeah,
know
but
the answers.
Okay.
As someone who's a big Gorillaz fan, does Saturn float?
No.
Yes.
There we go.
It is
No.
denser than water.
There
There have been studies into this.
No. It's not
It's not
an-
just Saturn's
not an
fault,
island.
It's just
a
Saturn's has
planet.
bars.
Shut up. It's a planet made of gas, so obviously it's gonna float.
I must admit. Okay, so I decided to Google it to like do a
You know,
meme
there
of
was a
all
NASA
these people
article,
say.
right? No, because let me explain. So I walked through. My parents brought this up and said this was on a thing, and I was like, right. So I googled it. There was NASA like articles or like kids website or something from like 2008 that vaguely mentioned it, right? And I looked at some other articles, and yeah, that thing, right? And then there's the Wired article below that suggests
Says, no, it wouldn't.
that it wouldn't float because of a whole host of things like Saturn's not entirely gas, etc.
Yeah, it is.
And there was plenty of other articles that I read, I can't remember who they were from, that also suggested it would not float.
Okay, so let's say we are considering would Saturn float? Because apparently
That's the
fuck
new
why not?
podcast topic.
It is.
Right, can I?
Would you consider the rings part of the object
Yes.
that has to float? Like if you were
Yes.
to amalgamate it.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
That's okay. That's a very interesting opinion. It would
I lean
depend.
towards not.
It would depend, to be entirely honest. I don't know whether everyday people consider the rings a part of the planet. I guess arguing from like diagrams, always generally including planetary rings for every planet in our solar system, you'd say yes. But if I was to say like, would it float? No, because I mean like that. Not necessarily because I disagree that they're part of the planet, but more because like it just doesn't really make sense, right? Like the rings are in orbit. If you put it on a planet like of water to float, like they're not going to be in orbit anymore. So like you're going to have someone like hold them in the same position, and they're going to be put like in the gas, like how
Found a
does that
Quora
work, right?
article, which
You know
is
what I
clearly
mean?
going to be the most
Oh, good God.
scientifically accurate, which suggests Saturn would be able to float.
Nah, bullshit.
So we clearly need to get in touch with some scientist here to get a definitive answer once and for all. Will Saturn float? Leave your answer in the comments below. Ideally, if you could provide the maths, that would be great as well.
I'm not an astrologist, I'm a biologist.
Yeah, they're both science. You should know.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
The rings are icy.
Come on,
and
bro.
you did a lot about
The rings are the
icebergs.
powerhouse of Saturn. Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
You measured.
Okay, I found
tree
a
rings.
paper from the European Space Education Resource Office.
Let me read the Wired article as well, sorry.
Let me have a
Please,
quick...
point.
Yeah, I only cursory read it. This was like
This is incredible.
3,
This
4
is
days
not
ago.
where I was
So,
wanting
I just
to-
want to say, by the way, before we carry on with this, is
Mhm.
I can't actually remember. Never mind. Carry on.
That was...
What?
Oh, okay.
Right.
So, according to this Wired article, and I'm scrolling through it still, I'd argue it's floating, but it's floating like an apple float, so it would be quite... It'd be mostly submerged.
I mean, it's
Iceberg.
But it
gonna,
would still be
Saturn's
hanging
gonna
at
be
the top of
pretty
the water.
dense.
So like an iceberg.
Like, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily like very, very, very dense. Like, obviously not. It's a gas giant, but it's going to be pretty
Maybe-
dense. It's a
I
planet.
guess maybe the answer depends
Like-
on how you define floating, which isn't what I expected
it's-
to...
I
on
guess
top
as well,
of
actually.
water. On top of a liquid, I guess.
I would say as long as it's not moving downwards. Like, I would still consider something that was like a foot under the surface but completely stationary technically floating.
Floating.
I would
yeah.
definitely
me too.
be more open to an argument against that than I would something that was breaking the surface and past like the surface tension layer.
Hmm.
But I would still accept that it was floating.
Fair.
Gosh, I'm glad we got here from 4K TVs and the...
Yeah.
what a weird
I love
path.
it when this happens.
By the
though.
way, I don't know if this is.
Great.
Oh wow, I did not know this. Apparently, according to Spotify, today is International Podcast Day.
Damn.
No
I need
way.
to check this.
I'm googling it. International Podcast Day is the 30th of September 2019. Thank you, Google.
Wow.
Let me go to their website.
Damn.
Yep, that is 30th of September every year is International Podcast Day.
Hell yeah.
As made by the website
Quick, you have
International
to get it
Podcast Day
uploaded in
and
a
no
few
other
hours.
official things.
Yeah, it's a shame I
Um,
can't get it up on the International Podcast Day. But it will be up on. Do you want me to list everything it's going to be up on?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that
Okay.
now.
I actually need to find. I can't remember the.
This is a great way to distribute this information as well because people listening to the podcast will already know this.
So there we go. The podcast is currently on YouTube, Spotify. Oh fuck me. There we go. YouTube, Spotify, Breaker, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and that's all of them. And maybe more in the future, but that's what it's currently on at the moment.
Not bad.
Hell yeah.
This
It
podcast.
well, maybe on iTunes at some point. But yeah, this
Yeah.
podcast.
I'm
The
pretty
I,
sure-
I believe
I'm pretty sure
iTunes
you've
will
got iTunes.
distribute from those
Yeah.
things.
But there we go. For everybody wondering what our podcasts, where you can listen to our podcast, you've got many options, all free. Though Spotify, the annoying thing with Spotify.
I imagine many people listening to our podcast are wondering where they can listen to our
the
podcast.
annoying, the
Yeah,
annoying
right.
thing is, I've had 10 plays. The fuck? Okay.
What's that one? Sorry.
So yeah, the only problem with if you want to listen to Spotify, obviously, I don't know how they do
Spotify
their podcast, but obviously I know the free version of Spotify gets ads when you're listening to music. I don't know how they do it through podcasts though. That tends to be after each song though, or between each song, and you can't always actually listen to it in an order. You have to wait for it to go through. The free version of Spotify is kind of weird, but obviously there are many free options. YouTube. And then all of those other ones.
Yes.
Like Break.
My recommendation for listening to podcast,
Google
if you're
Podcasts.
intending to, would be the Google Podcasts app on your phone and the recently launched podcasts.google.com web app, which is actually great because you can now listen to Google Podcasts on the web, which if Charles didn't know, judging by his face, yes, you can
no,
do that.
I'm just looking at the website.
Yeah, it does. It's less consistent than I would like, but it does mostly remember your position as well. So, like, very regularly, I'm listening to a podcast doing the dishes, come back to my PC, I got 10 minutes left or so. I just put my phone down, pause it, put my headset on my PC, bam. It's pretty nice.
But no, there you go.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
and this one will be up on YouTube, edited, hopefully better than the others, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. I'm happy.
You say edited better than the others. Surely any editing is better than the
Interesting.
others.
So
At
talking
least
about the pod.
edited.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
I literally just
happening?
finished.
Sharon?
Joe?
I literally just
Oh,
finished.
I didn't hear you say anything.
Oh,
I
Oh.
heard you start a sentence, so I just let you carry on.
I said at least somewhat edited.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm
okay.
going to put at least half an hour into it. According to this, we're currently 34% Anchor, 33% Spotify, and 33% Overcast. and a majority in the United States being 82%. 100% being Texas. 100% being Dallas.
Yo.
Interesting. I wonder who's listening to
Very
this.
specific.
Very interesting.
Oh my god, maybe it's the Achievement Hunter group.
Maybe.
Maybe they're
Yes.
all listening to us.
But no, thank you very much.
I'm sure they
and
are.
those links are down in the panels, in the description.
You know what? I feel like we have a lot to give, a lot of education to give to the Rooster Teeth podcast and how to do their podcast, you know? So I feel like a few members of the RT podcast will be listening.
And if you want to join us for one episode,
Yeah.
honestly, just email me.
We could probably make time.
We
you
could
know.
make some
Yeah,
time.
We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe.
I'm definitely available. I have a more American sleep schedule than I do British,
That's very
so
true. I'm probably going to be the same because
point.
my sleep schedule goes off if I don't go to work.
Oh man, your sleep schedule's going to be awesome.
Oh no. Oh no. But so yeah, I'm interested. I'm happy that it's now on Spotify. That was my biggest aim with this, and it's nice to have it on a load of others as well, especially Google Podcast, sorry, because that is a good free way of doing it. Google tend to do this, and they do well at it. But yeah, Spotify was my aim. iTunes maybe a future, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Anyway.
Okay.
Wait, what was that for? Anyway. Yeah, so we spoke about blah, blah, blah. We spoke about consoles.
We briefly touched upon, we didn't quite get into it, was ZeniMax being bought by Microsoft.
Oh yeah, Bethesda.
So, some of the people that ZeniMax owns, some names you might recognise, include Bethesda and id Software are the probably main two that I can think of. There's quite a few more.
I would say Arcane as well, who you might not immediately know, but they're the developers of Dishonored.
Dishonored?
So
Those are the three that I'd say are the
I
biggest.
just remembered what I was going to say
Fair enough.
when I said I'd got something to say, but I
Oh,
forgot.
they did Prey as well.
Apparently,
Okay.
the first game to come to the to Game Pass through this new partnership is Doom Eternal. So I know I'm going to be playing soon because I want to play that game
man.
a lot.
I regret buying that game now.
I know. So, but yeah, it's a really good partnership, honestly. Like,
I mean,
it was unexpected, at least from me. There might have been news beforehand that I just missed, but for
I
me,
Yeah.
never heard anything about it.
you bought it.
I'll say from a corporate conglomerate, like, you know, not having one massive like insane development company that owns like 400 studios, you know, it's bad on that part,
basically the
but-
Disney of video games is
right?
what we're
Yeah.
heading for.
If you're looking at like from a I'm gonna ignore all of the bad stuff and developer crunch and layoff of studios and shit that generally happens with this sort of thing eventually down the line, like, from a user point, you might be able to play your cool new hit Starfield game for like £3 a month / £8 a month now. Hooray! Like, you know, it's interesting. And one thing that I find interesting about this is it now means that Elder Scrolls Online is owned by Microsoft, which
Right,
I will be interested to see if they change anything about, because, you know, they are completely
The
able
entire
to
Elder
just.
Scrolls series is my
Well, I
main-
mean, the entire Elder Scrolls series as well, right? But like the Elder Scrolls Online, I'm pointing out specifically because it's an MMO that works through MMO, right? We're talking subscriptions and microtransactions and that sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see if they have any influence on that, whether they make it worse or better, right? Like, I don't think ESO is going to be on Game Pass necessarily. But it's also possible because it's like ESO is still a paid game. You still have to purchase the game, and then there's an optional subscription, right? It's not a requirement for a subscription to play like some MMOs. So they could put it on Game Pass on the logic that you don't have to pay the entry cost. Then it would feel, I imagine, even though that technically makes sense, but from the pricing structure, I think people would feel weirded out by paying a subscription to play a game that has a subscription.
Fair,
right?
Yeah.
I think people would just be put off by that concept. So it's going to be interesting to see how they sort of handle this, I think. And there's a few odd things that I'm going to be wondering exactly how they go about. Bethesda supposedly has like a lot of IPs that they're working on at very early stages that are promising, like separate to Starfield, their main current one. But then obviously down the line at some point, maybe possibly a new Elder Scrolls game at some point, maybe in the future, possibly, probably not.
Yeah. Does anybody know when
I
this?
just want to say,
Oh, sorry, Cam.
I was just going to say the deal went through, or well, it's been agreed to, so it's not technically gone through, but it's going through $7.5 billion, which I'm trying to find. I found a good comparison image just when the deal happened. I think the Star Wars deal, for example, was either 2.5 or $3.5 billion, to give you an idea of scale and how much step up over even
That's
that.
like half my wages.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, like, if you look at the reported total equity, right, of ZeniMax Media in 2016 was $2.5 billion, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably
a lot of
grown
money.
quite a lot to 2020. Maybe looking more at like 3 billion, 3.2 billion, I would argue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not exactly regularly looking at ZeniMax Media. I'm not on their board or anything. But, you know, I would just be guessing because they've been doing pretty well with ID Software's games and such forth. And ESO has been consistently growing, I believe. So that alone is already effectively now equity that Microsoft Studios will have as part of the deal. So the actual deal is more like 5 million-ish, like 4 and a bit million-ish. So that's a big price to just pay for those IPs, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty big. I mean, the Minecraft deal being 2.5 billion, I think, is one of the like most overinflated deals that I've ever known to happen. Not
Yes,
because I
that
think
was on
Minecraft is not worth that money in the long run, but at the time, like to say one tiny Swedish developer is worth that much money, I think is pretty big, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely think Microsoft will make their money from it. Like, they've turned... You know, they've been doing well with Minecraft. Like, they've got Windows 10 Edition or Bedrock Edition, whatever the fuck, and that's for, like, full of skin packs and microtransactions and the mod marketplace thing.
That's
and,
what kids love.
you know, like, they're clearly going to be making their money back from it. But, like, you know, Microsoft is clearly... What I'm getting at is Microsoft is clearly not afraid to throw money around here, right? They are willing to acquire studios with quite a lot of cash if they need to.
Yeah.
Microsoft also acquired LinkedIn for 26 billion.
Yeah,
So
that
it's-
one
it's
went
just-
well.
it's not even like the highest paid out.
Oh, no, not by a long way.
Interesting. I
Forgot
don't know
about
that. Yeah.
LinkedIn, to be honest.
Yeah, LinkedIn's one of those weird ones because not many people think that much about LinkedIn, I guess. I mean, they acquired GitHub for, that was 7.5 billion, I believe, which is a pretty big deal. That was in 2018.
LinkedIn still is pretty valuable for a lot of people. But it's just
Yeah,
it's just
LinkedIn's
not
huge.
Used, like it's just not used as much as for like.
I don't think most
For the
people
price.
realize, like, until you've got, like, to, like, a bit, like, some, like, you don't have, like, not necessarily working, right, because if you're working for, like, a smaller company, it's not really relevant, but working in, like, anything remotely corporate, right, where you're looking at a company that is in the areas of hundreds of employees, maybe partnered with companies that are looking at thousands. LinkedIn is a huge thing, right? I studied university and was vaguely, like, involved in, like, a slight corporation for, like, a bit, and I already have had to, like, use LinkedIn, right? And I haven't used it consistently in a long time because I haven't needed to, but, like, I have a LinkedIn account. You know, it was kind of a necessary thing. Like, LinkedIn is a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
right.
It's all right.
Yeah. No, it is extremely important. I don't have much to say to that, to be honest. It is just an important program, and like Microsoft have been making good deals.
Excellent. I'm glad we got that.
They're doing well.
I wonder if LinkedIn's their, like, their biggest acquisition.
I think it is. From what I remember, it is.
Jesus.
Oh, I was having a look at general biggest
Yes.
acquisitions, and that was just over
Skype was
200 and
another
something
big
billion
one, which
dollars.
was 8.5 billion. GitHub another one, 7.5.
Oh, who
ZeniMax
originally
another one,
had
7.5. Nokia for 7.2. Skype Technologies.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
You had Skype.
I
Skype.
don't know why. I always thought of it as a Microsoft product, but I guess not.
Yeah, I had always thought of
naive.
it. Let's have a look at it. I'm going to do a quick... This is definitely interesting and relevant to the podcast. Skype was released in 2003, right? Actually, never mind. What a weird history. So Skype was announced in 2003 by Skype Technologies SAL.
Okay.
That was then bought by eBay in 2005, and in April 2009 they announced they were going to IPO it, right?
Right.
And then after that, it was bought by Microsoft in 2011 on May 10th.
Oh.
8.5 billion. I mean, that's not bad for eBay.
No.
How much went to the original Skype devs, I don't know.
To be fair, we all have our obvious opinions about Skype.
Discord is better.
Its existence as a software. It was certainly pretty much. I know it's still going, but I'd still argue it was pretty much eliminated by.
I think Skype's still decent on business. I obviously will know that they pushed Skype for business for quite a while, and while none of us may have necessarily used it, like, I think people underestimate Microsoft's influence on the corporate market. Every single business uses 365. Every single business probably uses Teams. Every single business probably uses Skype and LinkedIn, right? Like, so I think it's doing fine financially, I'd imagine.
But that's the thing, with the whole with the whole pandemic and shit. Like, Microsoft have been pushing Teams a lot more.
Yeah,
Teams has a lot of like the Skype features.
Teams is basically competitor to Skype, yeah.
Yeah.
But more integrated. Like, Skype for Business was basically like, we're going to try and make Skype businessy so you can use it for like managing a team, and then they launched Teams, which is for managing a team, and it was a bit like, okay.
Interesting.
So, you know. But I feel like Skype is probably still used.
Yeah.
This like pretty random. This really random fact, but I'm pretty sure Keemstar still uses Skype.
Yeah, I think he does.
That is quite random. How do you?
It was on a podcast, and I think
he
spoke about it on the Misfits podcast. He talked about he still uses Skype to talk to his the people he gets the news off, and all that.
Yeah. Like,
So-
like it was like with like during like because it's still going on with the whole Ethan and Keem beef. Something like came out where his DMs got leaked and he asked for someone for their Skype, and this was like last week.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I found some Skype numbers via Wikipedia, which is good. So at the end of 2010, over 660 million worldwide, with over 300 active. Which, you know,
That's alright.
yeah, it's all right. In March 2020, so, well, we'll get into the little detail that needs mentioning. Skype was used by 100 million people, so a few less, but, you know, still a good amount. 40 million on a daily basis. However, that was a 70% increase in the number of daily users due to the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, did you say that it was 100 million 2020?
Yes,
So
according to this.
that's quite interesting, because I was just reading an article about Skype, and the summary here is that actually you have to understand that a lot of Skype's popularity wasn't anything to do with Skype's success, and was everything to do with Microsoft deciding to get rid of Windows Live after purchasing Skype.
Right,
Because they pushed it just as like, this is the new Windows Live, so people just moved to it, right? Which, now I think about, that's actually definitely fair. When they purchased Skype in 2011, it had 100 million users. So for it to have 100 million users now, that's why I'm bringing it up. That's quite interesting to me, because well, it says more than 100 million active users back then, actually. So possibly even that might be the 40 million number that would be comparable to now. Either way, they basically, there's a statement from Microsoft in this article that says, Skype is a great option for people that want a basic video chat. However, Teams is the mobile app that we see where you can integrate Hub and personal video calling, like work, life, just everything into one thing. You've got tasks, you know, and apparently I didn't realize this. Teams is being pushed in default family Microsoft 365 subscriptions in future. And I believe with the idea of like, you could have your household and you could make your kids chores on like a Teams schedule, and you can share tasks with them.
Still, just having never used it,
shit like that.
Well, I've used Team and a tiny bit of Zoom technically, and well, Skype obviously. I'd honestly just recommend Discord and Slack.
Yeah, Discord and Slack are
Always
pretty
be my
good.
go-to.
I will say that Slack has been, I don't know if it's been fooling in user base, but it's been
I've never used Slack. To be fair.
losing.
I've seen it being used.
I would say, like, not market share, but what's the word? In the minds of users share, because of Discord, right? Because, like, let's be honest here. The majority of gamers that are using Discord, I know Discord is trying to move away from gamers, and that's a very interesting thing in the Discord versus Slack argument, actually, because Discord's now trying to propose itself as anybody that wants to grow a community. But obviously Discord launched for gamers. It was very much focused on that.
Yes, it was.
Most gamers have probably never touched Slack, right? You need to have some sort of professional job normally to be involved in Slack. Quite commonly, software development uses it heavily and such
Never
forth.
heard of it.
Having used Slack for a little bit and knowing people that have used Slack extensively, also just knowing Slack, Discord is a clone of Slack, for those that don't know.
Okay.
It is
Yes.
borderline exactly the same. Especially when it released. They've added stuff now that Slack doesn't have and such forth. And there's differences in their payment schemes and such forth, like a lot of differences on that regard. But in general, it is roughly a clone of Slack. And I think for that reason, any like where a company may see a use case in Slack, right? Like a bigger company, right? We're speaking someone in the thousands. There's stuff that Slack can't do, like a lot of stuff that Teams can do, right? Teams allows communication and the calling, all that stuff that Slack allows, but also like scheduling events and tasks and meetings and all of that shit, right? Which I believe Slack has plenty of bots that do, and I think it has like plugins or integrations or something that do similar stuff, right? But it's not like, from what I am aware, I may be wrong, it's not directly integrated into it. It's more just as a communication platform.
Oh, okay, I thought it was, but again, obviously, I've never used it.
Yeah,
so
I haven't used it for much. I've used it for like
completely-
a few times in different situations I needed to speak to someone on Slack.
Post an interesting graph in chat.
I know that like developers that I know of basically used Slack as like a like say you're working on a development team, right, and you're off ill because you're working from home. That doesn't impede your business in effective or your ability to work in pretty much any way, because you can go on Slack, you can speak to all your employees, they've all got it running on their computers, you can get into a voice chat should you need that, right? Your boss is posting important messages and announcements about deadlines in a channel. Like, it works very similarly. The only thing Slack has different is threads, and I have just got a screenshot of chat that confirms basically what I believe I was saying here. Where you can see how it is basically Discord. You can see how it has some differences on like the right, but you can see how the Acme team there is like an app, right? It's equivalent to a bot. That seems to be the Google Calendar logo, scheduling a meeting there. So it's not directly integrated into Slack itself, as more as it integrates in with other calendar services, and likely can integrate with Microsoft Calendar. But I think Slack will probably die out in comparison to Teams.
I hope not. Having used Teams, I just found the experience.
Teams has a lot of problems. There was a bug that Luke from LTT talked about for a while, where if you didn't wake your phone from like the black screen when it was just sat on your desk, Teams for a while, for some reason, wouldn't give you a notification in certain cases, on certain phones, and certain users would just get this bug, right? But when you turned your phone on, it would give you every single notification you've missed one by one for the past however long your phone's been off. So he basically had this issue where he had to be in Teams to work on Float Play and LMG, but any time he turned his phone on, he would have to sit for unironically about 10 to 30 minutes of just notifications while his phone was just constantly vibrating. And that was a bug. As well as, I know for a while it didn't sort notifications by time. I know that video calling had a lot of bugs. I know that Microsoft Teams has had a lot of issues. But also it integrates very well with Office 365, and that is a big part of what a lot of companies do, right? Like for LMG, I know it's useful for them because of their writing documents, and I believe they can like share the documents very easily through Teams and like share snippets of it and stuff like that or something. I don't know. I know that it's useful because it's part of one package, right? So I don't know. I feel like Slack's probably gonna not die like quick by any means, but I feel like it will eventually be falling off.
I think, yeah, especially just with the Microsoft name behind them, that's potentially not going to be something they can be like. If you see that graph I sent in chat, you can see the just spike in Teams, which is almost undoubtedly just due to how it has got Microsoft behind it.
Yeah.
But that's... I don't know. I hope Slack keeps going because like I just don't like Microsoft Teams from my use. The UI is very... It's very Microsoft in that things aren't where I'd have expected them to be. Yes. And then when I click things, I have to click them too many times to navigate, and the buttons are too simplified, which is a problem I had with Windows 10 when it first came out as well.
It's annoying.
It was just so much like a child's toy when it came out. I'm glad they fixed it.
Yeah, I've never had...
I mean, I would argue it still is, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
Never heard of a good experience from Teams. My friend had an interview on there. Was one of the worst experiences of all of his life. Never got the job.
Yeah.
Oh, that would put you off.
But yeah, no, I've never used it. Never plan on using it. So,
Uh-oh.
what?
Well, I can definitely say if I was to have to use Zoom or Teams, right?
Yeah.
My RAM's at 27 gigabytes.
I would pick
Miss-
Teams, and this is going to sound like a weird decision for me to be like, I'm going to use the Microsoft product, right? But Zoom has, on multiple occasions, committed against end-to-end encryption for users that aren't paying the money, although I believe recently has committed to end-to-end encryption for users. Yes, it will be doing. I can confirm that, so, which is a good thing, but like as it stands right now, until they did that, would I rather trust my data with a random company from San Jose, California that got big because of a worldwide pandemic, or Microsoft who already has a significant amount of data on me? I'm going to go with Microsoft, right? They're already getting all my telemetry from Windows. Like, at that point, like, as much as I would rather they didn't, and I use security offerings where I can, I have tracking and third-party cookies disabled, that sort of stuff. I use a VPN constantly. I do what I can because I am privacy conscious. Like, Microsoft also still has a lot of data on me, and I would rather it was in their hands than someone else's, right?
No, that's fair.
Like, I'd rather it was in no one's hands, ideally. You know, like, I would pick Google over Microsoft and Microsoft over Apple. I have my own hierarchy in the tech world. And again, that's purely not based on me trusting Google. It's purely based on Google having the most amount of data on me, and I have the ability to see and delete my data from Google, which is at least somewhat useful. But, like, you know, I don't know, Zoom just seems shady to me.
No, and
I know it's used a lot, but it seems very
that's
shady.
fair.
It literally just randomly popped up out of nowhere because of the pandemic, and I just don't like it. I just don't like the idea of it.
Yeah.
How everyone just so easily trusted it.
Yeah, it's a very trusting thing to just like webcam and like mic streaming is something that you have to have a lot of trust to do, and I think a lot of people do just kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
But like end-to-end encryption is important to me, because like it's not just like some people seem to think it's about like I'm planning to commit like like I'm part of a drug cartel, right? Like I'm definitely doing that, and I need to organize my drug meetings through Zoom, and I'm not just using the already a million existing end-to-end encrypted communication apps like Signal on my phone, right? Like, of course, I'm not a fucking idiot. Come on, right? But also, it's like it's about, for me, like if I wanted to have a chat with my meeting or my friends on Zoom for whatever reason, right? If I was starting a local business or whatever, I'm just not comfortable with knowing that someone at Zoom can watch that, right? I would be especially more comfortable if I was a woman, right? Like, there's stories and things that with people working at home, like, I'm not suggesting that everyone at Zoom masturbates to every Zoom call that's going on, but it's something that someone at Zoom could probably do, and that's kind of the problem, right? Whereas, at least if we know it's end-to-end encrypted, we know that's not possible.
I'm just going to say now, I'm going to bleep that entire sentence of you saying you're a drug dealer.
Why?
I feel like it'd be funny.
Damn.
Yeah, bro.
Charles not supporting local businesses, honestly.
Fam, someone recently got to what was it? Fucking a suspended sentence because of a drug deal that happened recently.
What?
There was a famous drug deal that.
So we've been playing Euro Truck
Oh my
Simulator
God.
again.
We have
recently. It's a game that I tend to get into for multiple weeks on end, and then I don't play it for years. And I'm probably going to regret the fact that I bought all of the locational DLC earlier today.
Okay,
but
spend
I
like
did
2
it, damn it.
that. Alfie, would you like to play with us after? Gucci.
Sure. I feel like you could have asked me after the podcast, but
Yeah.
sure. So today's
That one's
podcast
staying
topic, I am going to be playing Euro Truck Simulator 2 after we finish recording this.
Yes. And
I'm going to hide just on one of the roads you can't get to.
yeah, but I'm loving it. Honestly, it's so much fun. It's so fucking much fun playing with these lads. And actually,
It
talking
is.
about fun, genuinely watching
I got cool cargo too now.
watching films with you guys is so
I'm
much
gonna
fun.
regret
I
paying
do like it. Genuinely is. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the movie night went pretty well.
for you.
This is a weird thing to talk about on the podcast, right? Because so basically we're hosting a regular movie night now, and that's likely to possibly stem a movie podcast. We will hear more about it. But I wasn't sure whether to allow people to speak
Should do
or
watch.
to like force everyone to mute because I could remove like their ability to speak in the channel. Like there's a lot of stuff I could do. I figured the best way would probably be for everyone's enjoyment, just to let people speak, and if someone wants to just listen in silence, they can mute everyone else, because that way I feel like it's
absolutely
the fairest solution, right? Because like a lot of these movies people will have watched before. I definitely think I will try and encourage at some point people suggest movies we haven't watched, but like a lot of these movies, especially me and like the horror and slasher category, I would have watched a lot of, and I know Charles has watched a few of them as well, right? So like I don't know, I feel like it's not a personal major concern to me if someone speaks over it and we make occasional jokes.
No,
and I feel like if it
I
adds to
encourage
someone's experience, some people enjoy watching a movie more with jokes, right? It's not like being in a cinema where if someone's making jokes loudly to their friend, like you can't mute them. It's Discord. If I was annoyed at Phelan speaking, I could just mute him.
Imagine, if you could just mute fucking someone in the cinema.
Honestly, if we get to the point where we're fucking brain-computer interfaces with like Neuralink from Elon Musk, I can selectively mute human beings. Good God, my life is going to be fucking amazing.
But no, like obviously this won't be. We won't watch this movie again, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit now. But watching fucking the first Halloween with these lads was an experience and a half.
I'm glad I watched it with you guys purely because I wouldn't have been interested otherwise. To be perfectly blunt,
That's
it
fair.
wasn't.
Everybody said it was boring.
Film, not that I expected it to be for the age, but
I mean, it's one of those films that, like, as a big fan of the slasher genre, right? It probably is my favorite film genre. I will say, like, Halloween is a cult classic for obvious reasons, right? But I think, like, a film being a cult classic doesn't necessarily mean the film is, like, spectacularly good. It's more that it's like, it's a film people enjoy watching with their friends, fans of the slasher genre enjoy regularly watching. Like, I obviously wasn't alive when Halloween came out by quite an extended period, right?
Well, so
it's not a film I
believe.
remember nostalgically, but it's like, I like the slasher films. Slasher as a genre of horror is generally focused more on entertainment than, like, scaring you. Like, it's hard to explicitly argue what slasher films are like, because obviously the slasher genre itself is just about someone with a like knife, like I guess a bladed tool, like slashing a bunch of people, killing them, right? But like in general, like if you look at the popular slasher movies, they're generally a lot less serious than some more existential horror or psychological horror or like straight jump scare filled films, right? So I feel like part of the charm of Halloween as a movie is kind of how it's shit in places. And, like, watching it as a charm now is that it was filmed years ago, and it's kind of funny in that sense, right? And, like, if we watch... I've suggested for the next movie night watching Halloween 2018, right? Which is a direct sequel to the original Halloween. I think it has more horror elements in it. It's still a slasher film, but it has a more horror element to it. And I think it's also a really good movie. I would say it's arguably a better movie than the original Halloween film. But the sad part about it is that it kind of needs context than the original Halloween film to watch. So, you know,
And so
I feel like it's just a different attitude. Like, it's not necessarily like the most entertaining movie or like the most scary movie or the most like good movie, but you can laugh at like the stupid sound effects and like the stupid plot and shit. And like if we ever get around to watching like Friday the 13th, right? That's going to be an interesting one to see people's reactions to the first movie. If I think Charles would agree for sure. And then there's like A Nightmare on Elm Street, which says, so these slasher movies, they're kind of funny. They're like kind of not actually that scary. So what if we make a chicken nugget that's like real crispy and a pedophile and really gay the enemy? Oh, this is fucking hilarious. And it's just a series of improvised one-liners from a comedian.
It is beautiful.
And it's fucking great. It's a great series for that reason. So like I don't know, slasher's an odd genre because it is horror, but it's also like not like every horror film is a horror film. Every slasher film is a slasher film, but they don't have to both be a horror and slasher film, right?
And that's why I recommended the next film should be The Budapest Hotel, because that is a wonderful thriller about how Wes Anderson is an amazing director.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we'll keep.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll keep you updated if anything does happen. And I think I like the 1.5 hour mark, so I may call it a day here.
Damn.
If you do enjoy it this way, do leave a like, do comment down below, and rate it on whatever podcast website you're listening to on. Be Google, be Spotify, be what's it called, Pocket Rocket, whatever it's called. my favourite one. But yeah, no, I hope you enjoyed this. I feel I'm going to have a lot of fun editing it, and it's going to give me something to do in the evenings anyway. I will try and get onto streaming more games. Definitely some more Euro Truck Simulator, because that is so much fun. You should have seen us in Calais the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Today, sorry.
I mean, you're going to see us on
No,
Calais.
my God, I went into
probably.
Calais today, Alfie. Nobody understood how to use roundabouts. I was going around a roundabout.
Oh,
You know,
there's a lot of hot mics
I'm
as
not
well.
I'm not gonna talk about it now. You just have to wait. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Anyway, thank you all so much for your watching. This should be up tomorrow, hopefully, and it'll be up on Spotify and all that. Hopefully tomorrow. I don't actually know the processing time between it being uploaded and actually put onto Spotify. I assume a few hours at that max. So yeah, appreciate that all. Thank you so much for my wonderful host for coming on, and it's been wonderful. We had a great chat, in my opinion. It definitely took many turns, but it was interesting nonetheless.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Thank you very much, you guys, for coming on and spending your wonderful time here. Yeah. Got anything you would like to say? Anything you want to promote, as always?
Nothing from me.
Nothing for me.
Twitch.tv/tacticaltv.
On that, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to mention, 2 months until we have this baby together. What are we going to call it?
Put that in
We
the
need
comments.
to
If you
figure
got,
this
if you wanna
out.
if you got a streamer name of baby,
Yes, suggest baby
put
names
it
in the
comment.
comments
And as
below.
I always say, the best thing you can do for us small content creators, be that Delicious, be that Astivid, be that Agent Oink, share our content. That is genuinely one of the best things you can do. It's free and it literally takes a few seconds.
And
Yes,
hit the
thank you
bell.
very much as always, and we'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra.